Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Tooele Happy Hour, starring Jared Anderson and David Weiss, where if Head Trauma had a podcast, it would sound just like this. Welcome back. Jared, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Dave?
Fantastic. Nate, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
All right.
All right, we got a show going.
Okay, so I went to the gun show last Saturday. And as I'm wandering around, this young man standing out front, pandering to get signatures and waving a flag, humming all the things guys do. And so I chat with him for a second, and it's this young Mr. Nate Affleck, and it was a gun show up in Layton, and he was working to get signatures to put the vote for the new Utah flag, whether we have it or not, on the ballot instead of just leaving it up to our ordained leaders. So,
all right, you want to throw Nate up on the screen?
Yeah, I'll throw Nate up right now.
Here you come, Nate. You're coming through. Prepare to transition.
Ordained leaders is exactly right.
Yeah. So, Nate, tell us how you got involved in this.
Started school board meetings 3 years ago. The whole and then it just graduated, and then I was like, you know what, I better run for Congress. And Trevor Lee, my buddy, ran for Congress, and Lena Erickson ran, and Andrew Badger was going to run for federal level. We were all just in the state. Tyson Plasto ran, and Jason Haskell. We had about 8 of us that were like, we've had enough. We just in Davis County, we just had enough, and so we were like, we have to think bigger, and it was like, if you do it, I'll do it, kind of thing. So anyway, we did that, and doing all that, we kind of recognized that the GOP establishment is very corrupt. They do not want grassroots people. They don't want any change. They don't want to help fix anything. They're very content with the way things are up on the Hill. So it just kind of snowballed, and in this session, it kind of came up, and Andrew Badger and me became good friends during the campaign, and he said, you know what? I don't like how nobody's even talking about this flag thing. That they're all talking like it's a done deal. And I was like, yeah, they all act, and the way they're saying it is that it's just done. It's just a matter of just, but do the vote and it's done. And he's like, I don't think people want this. And I said, I know I don't. And so we started doing it. He started sending me memes from, he's in England currently because his poor fiance is stuck in England because she can't, she's not vaccinated. She can't come to America, of course, as crazy as that is. So and I'd go up to the Hill, and I would distribute the pamphlets or things that he'd make. And I talked to people, and it just started to kind of build. And then more people wanted to help, and we did rallies up there, and we were talking to all of the representatives and emailing them and telling people to message them. And we had a great campaign. We had the votes, and we had 4 people at the very end pull some shenanigans. They had to have been bought off, and they switched their votes, and they got it passed by 2 votes. But we had it beat in the House.
Can you tell us those 4 magical names?
Yes, the number one magical name that is the worst, and her excuses were just pathetic, is Kara Birkeland. Most of her area is Morgan, Duchesne, Daggett. I mean, it's like super conservative areas. And then she has a little bit of Summit, and she tried to use that as her excuse that, her area, her constituents were split 50-50. And we said, okay, granted, if that's true, that's great. Show us the district survey that you did. Every rep had a survey done, a constituent survey. Show us the survey, and then we'll leave you alone. Nope, she wouldn't do it. She won't share it. So then Kevin Stratton, Nilson Abbott, and Dan Johnson, all of them in very conservative areas. And we had confirmation from all of them that they were going to vote no. And we thanked them, and I personally shook Kara's hand out in front of the Senate building 2 weeks prior to the vote and thanked her for her no vote, introduced myself. and she always said, yeah, it's just so stupid. I don't want to waste my time on all this flag thing. We don't want to give anyone the flag thing, and we're just not going to move that direction. So, well, she ended up not doing that. And she's very much devious, is what I would say. Someone paid her off, did something that she needed or wanted,
Well,
because
if
she
somebody
did a 180.
if somebody paid enough money, like how much money would be enough to change your vote on a flag as an individual?
My guess is it was a matter of two things. They probably gave her somewhere between 10 and 30 grand in campaign financing that, Dan McKay's lobbyists probably called her and said, hey, we'll just donate money to your campaign when the time comes. And, in a year from now, nobody will even know, or, 2, I guess, when she runs again. And, it'll just look like we donated to your campaign. So it's a promise. And, but I also think that Dan was doing very shady stuff. He was threatening people that if they didn't vote for it, then he would hold up their bills in the Senate. He went after Ray Ward one time. We actually witnessed it, and Ray Ward came out of there like visibly shook, because Dan was just railing into him, and he did the same thing to Judy Wilkes Roner. So Dan pretends to be this nice guy, very clean cut. I'm, probably even churchy, if anything, but he is very slimy, that guy. He's a two-faced, he's a phony, total phony.
So when the donations do come in for the next election season, I think you can see them on like some sort of a federal campaign law type webpage.
Yep.
And it would be interesting to see what those numbers are. But man, 30,000.
They'll hide it. They'll hide it. There's no way they'll funnel it through different groups, and it'll just look like a campaign fund. But they were bought. The way she changed her demeanor, what she did, the text messages that we have that she's confirming she's a no vote. Same thing with like Dan Johnson. Same thing. His wife's very against it, but yet somehow he at the last second decided he was voting with it. Wow. It just, none of it adds up.
I would never vote against my wife.
Yeah, I was shocked. We were shocked. We thought we had it in the bag. We gave up on the Senate because the Senate is a cesspool of swamp creatures, the like you've never seen before. I mean, we're in bad shape in Utah. People don't really get it. We have too much money. We have too much things. We are very apathetic, and we are completely just too trusting. And these representatives, they know that, and they've played it, and that's why they did this flag thing. I think they understood that unless we did, like, all of a sudden stood up, it probably would have passed 80%, like in the Senate and House, like for reals, because the way it was. But when they started realizing, oh crap, man, this is going to come back to haunt us if we vote for this, all of a sudden you start seeing people change, their attitudes about it. And I just think, had we not done that pressure, it would have been just a done deal, like without even any struggle at all. So it's bad. I don't know what else to do. We just keep fighting, but this is a symbol for sure. If they can steal your flag, what else can they do to you? Like, they didn't even let us vote on it, and it's a statewide flag. It's our flag, the people's flag. And they said, you know what? You guys suck so bad, and we hate you, and you're these peasants, these cattle that we use for our benefit, that we're not even going to let you vote. Can you imagine the kind of mentality you have to have, the kind of elitist mentality you have to think that's the way to go on a statewide flag?
Well, it's good practice for them to gain like centralized control and learn how to better oppress the people as they gain more and more experience. I mean, the flag is just a little thing. Wait till they, I don't know, give it another 5 years to ferment. I think I can only imagine the things they'll push on us. Yeah, but how did the Democrats? How did the Democrats vote on this?
Okay, this is what's so pathetic and sad, is that you had every single Democrat, of course, without, we didn't even talk to them because we just assumed, you know what, they love Marxism and deleting history and all that stuff. So of course they'll be for it. But we thought maybe if we don't say anything, they will just do what they think is right, and they don't feel pressure. Because if some conservative group is saying please don't, then they're going to go, oh, then I for sure have to, right? So it was like, just don't touch it. So we thought maybe we'll get a couple, and then the vote wouldn't even be close. No, everybody in the Senate voted for it, and 13 of 14 Democrats voted for it in the House. Now, I was shocked we even got one, to be honest. Like, but you basically, the 27 House Republicans that voted lockstep with all of the Democrats. Now, in the Senate, I don't even remember how many Senate members there are, but the vote was 19-10. And I would assume the 10 were, just decent Republicans. I don't think any of them. So yeah, you got basically 100% of Democrats that said, yeah, we want to get rid of 100 years of history. We don't want that federal look with the American flag, and we don't want the eagle because it represents God, and it's, also America. So they took out all the good stuff and just said, here's your clip art flag. And yeah, it's just sad, because when we look at who voted for it, it's exactly who I would expect. It's like all your rhinos. And because I go to committee meetings and I listen to them in their bills, and I listen how they interact with the general public and what they say in the committee and why they're going to vote for this. And I'm talking all the election integrity bills. I'm there for the transgender, mutilation bills, you name it. I'm with all the big ones. And you start to figure out who the rhinos are fairly quickly, and then how they vote. It confirms it. It's the perfect litmus test of who our rhinos are, who voted for the new flag. It's just, I couldn't have done it more perfect. Like, and if anything, they really gave me a clear picture for sure now who they are. And if anyone is curious, that's your list. If you want to know who is a rhino up at the House, look at who voted for the flag, and it's like 99% perfect.
Are there any libertarians that voted on this?
Are there any libertarians?
I don't even think
we need to start there.
We don't have any.
Yeah. Can you do me a favor? Can you still man for me the idea of why the proposal to change the flag was even brought up? Do we know why that was brought up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. So what they did is, you have out of state influences, and now they're actually doing a documentary right now. They even came up to one of our people at our booths trying to get our permission to film us and stuff. But it's 3 of the 4 gentlemen are from out of state, originally California. Big shocker. And they came here, and they're these big flag gurus, right? They call them vexologists, which is just a dumb name.
Again?
It's just, they think that they're called vexologists, and they're like
ologists. Okay.
And they're basically flag nerds, right?
So are they the ones?
So these guys came up with this idea.
Go on.
Yep.
Go on.
They started it. They started it, and they were pushing it, and I'm sure it was probably for gain, that they could, sell the flag, make money off and they are part of this right now, so they will definitely benefit from this. And they started it, and they went to Steve Handy in Layton and said, hey, we want you to sponsor a bill and do something like this. And of course, Steve Handy, being a complete fake Republican, he's a Democrat through and through. He said, absolutely, and started running with it. And besides that and his other dumb bills and things he did, he actually lost to my friend Trevor Lee. Mm-hmm. So he's done, and Dan McCabe was like, well, hey, I'm a big-time rhino, so why don't you let me take over? So he took over, and he had Mike Schultz co-sponsor with him, who is also another rhino. And he started going crazy, just pushing it. And the way they sold it originally was, we'll do a flag task force group, and we'll just, it'll be an unbiased group of, 9-10 people. And then we'll come up with some designs, and then we'll put it to a vote eventually. That was how it was sold. So the legislator and the Senate were like, okay, sign it off, $13,600, that's fine. And they went on their way. Well, then they started getting backing from these groups and outside special interests, a group called Flags for Good. His name is Michael Green. He's basically the antichrist of progressiveness. I mean, he is like uber progressive. All his money proceeds, everything proceeds go to progressive movements, BLM, climate change, LGBTQ stuff, nothing that's like normal at all. And that's where he spends all of his time and his own money. And his motto is, I make flags gayer. That's his whole motto. And if you look at his website, it's a lot of gay flags. He takes them and modifies them. Our flag wasn't very modifiable. It's made up a word there, but I liked it. So they take it and they change it and they get rid of the good symbols and the symbols that mean stuff. And then they can just easily make it, turned into a trans flag or a gay rainbow flag. That's the state flag as well. And they're already flying all over in Salt Lake City. So we know what they've been doing. And Dan's been working closely with all of these people. But there's always a arm's length of distance so that they can have plausible deniability that there's that tie. Even though they just did a YouTube show together, kind of trying to say that no, Michael Green didn't create this flag. Michael Green did create this flag. He did a TED Talk back in March 2021 where he unveiled his design. It is the current flag minus just a simple little beehive in the middle, which is how they keep him from being tied as the guy who did it.
So,
but everything else is verbatim from 2 years ago.
So let me, so his objective is to try to get flags put in the different states that he can easily amend to still use that flag and propose his message. Because our initial Utah flag is not a flag that you can just add a pink and blue stripe to or
can't do it.
Shading because it's one solid color with the seal in it.
Right.
So he wants to break them into probably, I think they'd call it a 3-panel flag. And so that's his motivation. But what is...
And then he makes money too. Because he gets to sell them.
And then he gets to, sell them and probably charge for the design and all that, which...
Yeah, we're like the 13th. Yeah, he's done this to like cities and states everywhere. This is like what he does. He goes from state to state, city to city, and just bastardizes flags.
Well, I recognize his motivation, and that's just pretty blatant and naked. What's the motivation with our representatives and our senators? What is their motivation? Are they?
That's the scary question, isn't it? Because when you realize.
Could it be they just want a bill that's simple that they can sign their name to and they're hoping it crosses the finish line? Or
no, not that one.
Or do you think that, I mean, I can't imagine they're getting paid on the back end for this because that's so naked they'd get caught.
No, I think personally Dan has to have something like that worked out because he like quit his job to be able to run this bill like 24/7 and just push it. That's like all he cared about.
Dan,
he could care less about.
What's Dan's last name? McKay?
Senator Dan McKay. Yep.
We've never talked about him on this show before.
Oh my gosh, he needs to be on your radar like nobody's business.
Yeah, we've chatted about him a bit.
Three. Yeah, him and Todd Wheeler and Mike McKell are like probably your 3 worst senators. Bramble's way up there too. Bramble's terrible too. That dude will run any bill. Like China could give him a bill and he'd run it. It's pretty sad and scary. But I think personally that Dan has a lot of power and he has the help of Cox. Okay, so I do believe this all starts from Cox at the very top. And he basically threatens these people to, do this, do that. I'll give you this. I'm sure they have deals because Dan and Cox, they're all kind of one and the same team. They all work together and they wanted this flag very bad. He's now saying, I did an executive order so that, it flies higher than the other flag. That is 100% nonsense. He knows that they're just going to fade this flag out. And it's an executive order. It doesn't mean anything. As soon as he's done, it's just they just wipe it off the table. So it's the foot in the door, like they do with the gay agenda in schools. So it's the foot in the door. They'll get rid of it. They're going to eliminate it completely.
When you say the executive order, are you talking fly it higher than the other flag? You mean the other flag, like
so that's
like a gay
so now,
pride flag or something?
So now in all the state buildings, they said, that what we'll do is we'll do the historic flag, because that's, that was the amendment. See, that's one thing I got to add too. 3 days prior to the vote, Dan was like, "Oh crap, I don't have the votes," and we knew he didn't, like not even close. So we're like, "Oh, this is awesome, it's over." He comes up with this amendment and he says, "You know what? What we'll do is we won't eliminate this flag altogether. We'll keep it as the historic flag." And so then what he could do is he could then go to those legislators that were not willing to, like, "Hey, I'm going to delete this. I'm going to get crucified." Because now they can go back to their constituents and say, "Oh, no, I know what you've heard, but it's now we have the historic flag." And so we saved it. And so that's why I voted for it, which is garbage. They know it's garbage. They all know what the plan is, to fade it out completely, take the old little grandma and stick her in the back closet and forget about her. That's what they're trying to do. So they did that, and I think that did sway a couple people to be able to then have a reason why they'd be willing to delete 100 years of history and heritage, right? They needed an excuse, something to make it a little bit more palatable. So they did that. And then he took it finally took a vote. He held it out for 3 weeks. They didn't do with any other bill. They never do this. He waited on that sucker, because he was working them over. He was buying them, bribing them, whatever he had to do. So they finally did it like the last day of session, and it just barely squeaks by. So you see, it's a game plan, and he knew if he was honorable and planning on.
Oh, we're losing your audio.
You're on mute. So, Jared.
Yep, we can't.
Is it us or?
I don't know. I'll try. You'll hear it there because of the delay.
He's a good guy.
Oh,
that guy's a rat.
Okay, we lost like 2 minutes of you talking.
Okay, from where?
I think from your phone.
I think we lost it on our end, not his. So you might be good. But let me ask you this. Dan McKay didn't have anyone to run up against him. So he must be beloved.
Yeah.
Well, people didn't know who he really was. So he was appointed originally by Mr. Cox, right?
Really?
So, yeah, he was appointed. So was Tara Birkeland, oddly enough.
Are they appointed because someone died in office, or how did they get appointed?
Yeah, or they left, or they leave. I don't really remember the circumstance where they retire or they're done. So all we know is that Cox has never appointed anybody that isn't in his back pocket. Like, he just doesn't do it. So that's your first bad sign. And then they go for re-election, and it's usually just easy to win because you're already in. So they know that, and they know the general public's not smart enough to, look at it and go, "Well, I want the grassroots candidate." The whole system, and again, I know I ran for House, the system is absolutely all about crushing the grassroots candidates. They want nobody threatening their GOP dominance. They can't have people like me get in there, because I'd go up there and say, "You're corrupt, you're corrupt, you're corrupt, and you're corrupt, and you're corrupt," and they can't have that. They need to take people that are kind of, they're trying to do good, but they go up there and then they're like, "Hey, buddy, what's up? You should come to us, to our meeting."
Well, yeah, that
might have been the show.
Yeah, we lost him there. Anyways, I wanted to read off some comments with him, but I guess we'll read off comments for the people watching. Of course, Chad Saunders showed up. For some reason, we've lost a handful of these top comments. Welcome to the wonderful world of Facebook. Okay.
I think we got him back.
He is back. All right. We'll turn this back.
So sorry.
You're good.
It's okay.
I take like 400 phone calls a day, volunteers, people wanting to know where we're at.
Mhm.
I'm talking like 10 hours a day, like people just so upset about this.
Yeah.
I'm in charge of all of Davis County, and even I'm helping all in Weber, and I'm trying to get up to Morgan because I really want to make sure everyone in Morgan knows about Kara Birkeland, because people need to know she needs to go. Like, you can't have people in office that are just pathological liars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nate, I have to say I'm extremely impressed how quickly this campaign kicked off, how efficient it was, how determined the people were. I mean, I used to have a very low opinion about the political IQ of our population here in Utah. But after watching the flag campaign kick off and how close you came to almost thwarting Dirty Dan, I think
Dirty Dan, I like it.
I think it almost inspires me, to be honest with you, because there's a lot of things in Utah I feel like the population needs to know. And to know that the population could mobilize for something like a flag, which, I mean, I don't know. If I was going to die on a hill, it probably wouldn't be the flag, but they did. They moved, they effectively worked together, and they came together for a cause. And I hope you keep everybody's details together in some sort of an information packet so you can keep communicating with all these people, keep them organized, keep them informed, and keep on trucking, because we have a lot of work to do when it comes to getting these rhinos out and putting in some decent people like yourself. I think the fact that Dan went unchallenged is kind of like an insult to, I don't know, maybe like my entire military service. But I hope you keep going with this, and I think you're effective, and cherish that, man, because that's special.
Yeah,
we are, and I actually feel like maybe this was the martyr that we didn't know we needed, and it's I've never seen the general public ever be this pissed off at their representatives. I mean, they are livid at their representatives, and everybody listening to this, find out who your representative is and find out how they voted, because I'm telling you, if they voted for this flag, that is a much deeper issue that you don't realize. They're soft on a lot of stuff. They're not looking out for it, because if you can allow Marxism like this just to come in and just people don't need to vote for this. Again, that's how it was sold. We'll put a flag, get a couple options, and we'll vote. Well, why didn't they let us vote? Do you know why? Why they didn't let us vote? Because it would have been destroyed, like 85-15 in the state of Utah. They had no chance of passing that if it was a vote, and they know it. And that's why these horrible human beings are also now calling our stores. They're calling different stores and telling them, corporate, that they complain, they don't want them there. And now these corporate stores are telling us we can't stand in front of their stores anymore because they're getting calls. And it's not from people, because we get nothing but love from everybody. Everybody is so grateful. Everyone loves, and we're at stores that are like, like your cow ranches, right? They're like our people, patriotic, get dirty kind of people, buying stuff for their animals. They're our kind of people. And now they're getting, phone calls, and unfortunately corporate bent the knee and now doesn't want us to sit in front of their stores. So it takes is a couple.
Do you have a record of those phone calls? Is there any way you can verify that?
We love names and details.
Because I think, honestly, if you can verify that would be something you could bring up in a lawsuit.
I know. I'm going to look into it, because what they do is like they do everything, right? They just cancel. So the cancel culture people are now trying to cancel us from trying to cancel their cancel. I mean, you can't make this crap up. These people are such losers. Like, now we don't want you to gather signatures, even though the people are like thrilled to death to have us there to sign and to know they can go and sign. And so they're like, no, we don't even want you to have that voice. You got to figure out like whose house has a packet. I mean, come on. It's just, and these stores need to stop being such wimps and say, you know what? Who's our bread and butter? It's these people. We don't care if this whiny little vexologist calls in and doesn't want people to sign signatures, because we haven't had one incident with anybody. Everybody knows to, just be really calm. We're not asking for money. It's the easiest sell in the world. Everyone signs. Everyone wants to sign. Well, and if we just had more stores and not like a blizzard every day, I swear we'd have quadruple what we have.
Well, here's a couple of the questions. If it is the conservative type stores, I would just tell them, look, this record's going to be known. You know, Cal Ranch, you're going to
Yeah, that's
lose
what
your
I am
business.
doing. I am doing that.
Yeah, you're going to lose your business to Tractor Supply.
Yeah.
And that's just what's going to happen. We got to fight back on that level. But I would, this is something that I think everyone should do. And the hard part is it takes a lot of effort. It takes a momentum. You've got to record every vote every politician makes, you know, and who does that? Because the people who focus on that, how do I put this, tend to be hyper focused, so they lose the forest for the trees, and they hyper focus on each individual bill. But we need someone who's just going to kind of keep track of bills so we can watch this. Yeah. And you'll see people gripe, oh, it's only what is it? $200,000. How much is it supposed to cost for the flags?
So they've spent. We're hearing different rumors. So Dan himself said $500,000 at first. Then he changed it to $300,000. But it's somewhere like $500,000.
So
just to design it.
That's still $500,000 that we don't need to spend as a state.
Well, of your money and my money, I didn't agree to that.
There's, you know, when you're heading down I-215 and you're getting ready to bump onto I-80 West, so you're at freeway speeds, there is a pothole that you could bathe an elephant in on the dang freeway.
Oh, they're all over. All over the place. I've noticed this year.
Yeah. Do you think maybe, and also when you're getting on 215 from 80, think maybe we could attend to, you know, commerce things like that prior to, you know, making our flag softer and sensitive?
Take all the money that we should get rid of, all the federal money. We shouldn't be taking any federal money for our schools, and we just teach our kids statewide. You get rid of that 9-12% that comes from the Fed money, and you get rid of the woke agenda like immediately. That's all it would take. You just eliminate that because it comes with strings, and they have to teach certain things. Like take that $500,000, put it towards our schools. Just get rid of the federal, you know, the Department of Education. It needs to go away.
Just like that.
It's just common sense. But these people don't seem to have common sense. They act like they're smart. They dress in suits. They shave and they look clean cut, and you think they're good people, but they're like monsters.
Well, I mean,
they're actual monsters when you listen to them.
They're smart like snakes and vipers. I mean, they're getting wealthy and getting living a better life than the rest of us off our backs. So, yeah.
We've done some grandma requests, which is basically we can pull up their phone records and their emails, anything that they've done, and we've been doing it for some of our you know, like Todd Wheelers and the kind of the slime bags and Dan McKay, and we're going to do that, and we're going to get them all, and we're already seeing just you'd be shocked. They're like traveling all over the world, and you're like, how could you say this is a campaign thing? And what good are you doing us in Germany? Like, what is it you're doing in Germany? You know, you're just using that money for your own personal thing. And it's so slimy. They have so much funds, and the deep state just loves to keep them in power. Well, it's disgusting. And
I'm not the biggest fan of democracy, and this is how democracy sells its people out every time. I mean, it's not the first time it's been done, you know, just how it is. Yep. But anyways, mind if we go through some comments with you?
Absolutely.
All right. So Chad Grady Saunders, I'm sure you've met him. He's a flag warrior.
I work with him a lot.
Yeah, he's a good dude. Yep. He says quid pro quo on legislation. He's been really
valuable.
Oh yeah. He's an asset to the county as well. He says the Martin family is who's making some money off this is one of our guesses. So is that the Martin that's gayifying the flag, or?
Yep. That's no, that's the original ones I was saying 3-4 years ago. Those 3 of the 4 that were from California originally. That's
Uh-huh.
them. That's them. That's exactly
Okay.
who started it.
Okay. So
Yep.
so
And then
they
they kind of quieted down because I think they had it. And then Michael Green kind of got involved, and they were probably all working together at some point.
Mm-hmm. Mm. All right. And then
Michael Green took billboards out and started doing billboards
okay.
with his progressive money that he gets from.
Yeah. Where Chad also says, by the way, Nate has worked it like no one else. He has done some amazing things gathering signatures. Help Nate join the Facebook group 2023 Utah Flag Referendum. And we'll be putting a link to that in the show notes. And we're sharing it on the happy hour and all that stuff. Utah Patriot says, elitist. Yeah, it'll be shared. We'll get it up and around. And make sure if you need to share any updates or anything on the happy hour directly there. You don't need one of us to do it.
And Nate, if you could, for our listeners, would you be able to post the link to who voted for this bill? I really do wonder, like, how did my representatives vote in Tooele?
Yeah, that'd be.
I have it in like three different places where I post. Mine is Nate Affleck. Just Nate Affleck. It's easy to find. I'm the only one, and I have it posted there. I have it posted on my Instagram again, Nate Affleck. I post it everywhere I can. I want everyone to know that record. I have it circled. I have who they are. Yeah, I've done Nate, a lot of posts to kind of inform people.
Just post it right in our group page on Facebook, and I'll make sure it gets out on the Twitter and Instagram and all those other locations.
Yeah, any Perfect. Update, or if you'd rather just kick it to us, we'll post it up there. All right. Utah Patriot says elitist mentality. Exactly. Another test for the people and how they will or won't react. Then he talks about.
Oh, precisely now. Precisely. Yep. He said that so perfectly.
Yeah. He talks about.
I actually have something that I want. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go on.
So this is what I always try to explain to people. I said, you've seen The Matrix, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the Matrix uses the human body as its energy source, correct? That's the whole idea, right? And they don't know that they're part of the Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I explain it to people is we literally live in a real life matrix where, even if you want to make it simpler, we're the cattle and they are the farmers. So our representatives are we think we're in a pasture and it's all wonderful and, nothing will happen to us until we become slaughtered or until we're, we're forced to eat, lots of food to get us fat, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look around you. We are in a real life matrix. It's not that hard to see when you really realize what they're doing. They don't care anything about you. They care about what's for them. So we're just cattle to our representatives, to most of them, not all of them, but most, especially in Utah. And the sooner people recognize that you're just a useful commodity. They don't care what you really think. They don't care what we thought about this flag, or they would have let us vote on it. They don't care. So stop voting for these incumbents. Like, use some common sense and stop voting for stupid incumbents. Mm-hmm. Give them 2 terms, and then out. 2 terms, out every time.
Yep.
It's got to stop. Because they're not going to vote for term limits, I promise you.
And we also have to possibly conceive of the idea that maybe Dan McKay does have an affinity towards gay flags, and he has a sexual preference that he's not exposing to us, and we need to be sympathetic towards that if that is the case. That is a possibility.
He is extremely beta male, like very femmy, very much like cocks.
Right.
They do not seem like men to me.
And we can't hold that against them. If someone is gay and they have an affinity towards that, it does not make them bad people, and they have their reasons, and we have to accept that as a population.
and just let them have their flag. They should just have their flag, do what they want with it. Don't bastardize my state flag for your need to groom all the other children to your cause.
Yeah.
It's their religion. If you think about it, God has been removed, but their religion is in full force in our schools and everywhere. They can do whatever they want. They don't believe in God, but they believe in this narrative of these very liberal ideas. That is their religion. If you see how fanatical they are about it, they will defend it to the death. It is their religion. And so we have to look at it and say, if my religion isn't allowed in the schools, then neither is yours. And it is their religion. Don't kid yourself. It is a religion for these people. That's all they think about. It's all they do. It's all they donate their money to. And Dan has helped this cause dramatically in our state, dramatically by pushing this through. And I'm not so sure he doesn't know that he did it. He claims to be this good guy, but the way he's talked to people online, social media stuff that he's put in, it's shocking. Like you would never think a representative could have such an ego, but the guy has a monster ego. And yet he's just a little man. He's just a little man that's overweight a little bit. He's effeminate. I can't even imagine. But when those kind of people get power, they abuse it every time, if you've noticed. And that's why a lot of them are in politics. It attracts them.
I recall Dan saying something like test the metal of the chair or something really kinky like that makes me think of like leather outfits and gag balls. I'm going to throw that out there. There are hints that possibly Dan is in on this gay flag for a reason. And again, I just want to say we're sympathetic towards you if you don't want to come out of the closet, if that is the cause. But if it is, again, we all have to be compassionate people.
I think the issue we're seeing, and we're seeing this across all parties, all spectrums, is that government officials right now are really running for the fences on being authoritarians, on
100%.
Yeah, locking the people down. But let's finish up a few more comments because we're running low on time, but some of these are pretty good. Utah Patriot says, or the 5 arrows that represent the 5 tribes in Utah. I'm not opposed to the indigenous people having a display on the flag, but I do see that there seems to be a trend towards these 3 panel flags, these simplified flags, and I'm wondering, I think you may have it right there, so they can adjust the flag for current thing, we're mad about the penguins in Antarctica can't outswim the orcas, so we're going to throw up a different colored flag, and I think it's just pandering bullshit that we need to wipe from the mentality of the human race right now. We don't need to have current thing to try to separate each other. And then he also,
it's like a form of white guilt, almost like they embrace it so heavily, and how crazy it is, but they just embrace these weird causes to get acceptance.
It's beyond that. It's effortless, showing off effortlessly. It's, I can say I'm a good person, I just don't have to try.
The word for that is virtue signal.
Yep. Yeah, it's the virtue signal. But it is, they don't have to do anything. Oh, I can download a flag of Ukraine and throw it up as my background, and I've done my thing. I've saved the poor Ukrainian people from the modern day Holodomor, and that's what it is.
Yep.
We need to wipe that from us. If you're not going to put in the effort, shut up, sit down. That's it.
Yep.
He also calls them dickologists for the flag people.
And I've met them. They're the biggest nerds you've ever seen in your life. And who made them the masters of flags, how they should be. I look at their ideas, and it needs to be simple and a child can draw it. What a dumb thing. It's just dumb. It either looks awesome or it doesn't. Heck, throw on 3 eagles. I'm going to like it more.
Yeah.
I mean, and a child can't draw an eagle. Who cares? Like, it looks cooler. Add whatever. You take the American flag off and the eagles. Come on. You're never going to tell me that doesn't look good. Our flag looks awesome. Just push it to the children at grade schools instead of doing nothing and then saying they don't even know about their state flag. Well, what have we done to push it to our children? Nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing at all.
Have they taken the opportunity to try to teach them what the seal meant when they first designed it? How the seal may have impacted our forward momentum through the last 130 years? Anyways,
no, they don't do anything, and it's sad. It's sad.
Now, Tim, he's a poor freedom-loving dude in exile in a foreign country. He says, agree, they are monsters. It seems to me like they are all in on it together. In October of last year, congressional approval rating was 23%. In November of 2022, the House re-election of incumbents was 94%. And that is ridiculous. It's like people hate what they're getting, but they don't want to do anything to change it. And
true, but here's why though, is they don't have the money because the GOP won't support the grassroots, right? They don't only not support them, they crush them so that they can keep their people in. So even if you have good people, how do you win when they have like $100,000? Like Blake Moore, who is the biggest rhino there ever was, he was one of 60 guys that decided not to vote to remove the Department of Education for elementary and secondary learning just like 2 days ago. He was the only one in Utah that did that. Even Curtis voted to remove it.
We need to have a third party.
He has too much money.
We need to have a third independent party that pops up and doesn't support it. The third independent party takes money and just supports the highest ranking person in that district that's not on the two majority party ticket, and just throws money at them, throws a little bit at each one, gets their name out.
Because we could have won more races with money. It's just it goes to the general public, which Utah is the only state in the union that has universal mail-in ballots. Ask yourself why that is.
Yeah.
Like, that's how dumb we are. And we allowed this garbage. So you get the low-hanging fruit voting for crappy candidates over and over.
It's almost like it was on
They don't know anything about them. Oh, yeah, exactly. And then they did SB 54. So then even when we beat them, they go gather signatures and they spend $500,000 and they get into office, like Blake Moore. Blake Moore got destroyed at convention. People thought he was a total moron, which he is. And he's very corrupt, too. I mean, he's the top 13 in insider trading. He's in the top 13 out of all the Democrats and Republicans. He was on what they call the danger list, because he had so many fines for insider trading. The dude is not who he says he is. And people have no idea about him.
Yeah, the insider trading, when an ex-model / homemaker TV show lady does it, she goes to jail.
Yes, right?
But when a congressman does it, he...
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Just look at his voting record and look at how many times he's been fined he's been fined and reprimanded for his insider trading. Well, his father-in-law is Boyer, right? And Boyer owns Utah. I mean, he's so powerful. And of course, they're working together on all these contracts around the base because he has all the land around it. So he paid for Blake to run. He paid a salary so Blake could just quit his job and run. So he's just like, Blake's just the puppet to Mr. Boyer, you know? And Mr. Boyer does whatever he wants. And then you have Brad Wilson, who's Mr. Real Estate. He's the Speaker of the House. And you have Greg Stewart, who's the Senate leader, and he's in real estate. And it's just magical how we pass that bill that everyone gets $20,000 to put a down payment down on houses. Oh yeah, they'll pay it back. But who did that benefit? That benefited him and Brad. Of course they wanted that bill, but it took it's like so corrupt in Davis County and elsewhere, but Davis County is really bad. Our leaders are bad.
It does seem like the big movers and shakers in our state government are all in real estate too. Real estate development the large construction. We do have to cut you loose. We got another person
Thanks
coming
for having
in,
me.
But everyone, Nate Affleck,
Nate, run for government.
Yeah, Facebook,
man.
but go to 20 2023. So 2023 Utah flag referendum. It's easy to find on Facebook. It's the easiest way to get engaged. We need everyone's help. Like, we can do this. I really think we can. We just need everyone to say, I will get involved too, not just these guys.
Yep.
They'll do all the work. Just do a little bit, and we got this.
If you
Thanks for your time, guys.
Yeah. Hey,
Thanks, Nate.
Everyone, thanks for your comments. And everyone, just go to, you can go to the happy hour. It's right there. A link is right there. A link will be in the show notes if you listen to this outside of Facebook. And, but yeah. And next up, we've got Chase Levitt coming on. Thanks again, Nate. And we will talk to you soon, man.
All right. Thanks, guys. Good
Yes,
luck.
sir. Thank you.